So last year, I decided to read one book per month. So one book every single month, no matter what. And this really started because as I was traveling through New Zealand with my family, we got to one Airbnb that had no internet, but they had a shelf full of books. And as I was looking through the shelf, one book caught my eye in particular, and that was a book called The Millionaire Fastlane by MJ DeMarco. And this book is dangerous because it will make you think that you can start a multi-million-dollar business fairly easily and quickly, as the name goes, Millionaire Fastlane. It's an amazing book, and I couldn't stop reading it, and that's what really led me to reading one book a month for the year of 2024. And so in order to give a little review for myself and to share my lessons with you all, I thought I would just go ahead and recap and review on the biggest lessons I learned from the 12 books that I read in 2024. Starting with number 1, The Millionaire Fastlane. MJ DeMarco says if you're not in control of your income, you are not in control of your life. Now, if this doesn't get you fired up to have more control of your income, I don't know what else will. And the book basically says that there are only 2 ways to get rich fast, and that's either by fame, such as becoming an actor or a professional athlete, or by starting a business. And that is basically it. And he says that most people will fall into the starting a business side. And one of the biggest things that I got from this book too was the way that MJ makes decisions. So there are 2 ways that he makes decisions, and there is a small decision and a big decision. And the small decision, he uses something called WCCA, worst case consequence analysis. And basically what this is he asks himself 3 questions when he's making a decision. Number 1, what is the worst thing that could possibly happen if I go this route? Number 2, how likely is that to happen? And number 3, is it acceptable if it happens? If the answer is yes on number 3, then of course you would go through with the decision. If the answer is no, then you would forget it. Now for bigger decisions, he uses something called the decision matrix. And this is actually really cool. And what it is you take your decision, your A and your B, put columns of what is important for you there. So let's say you're deciding between 2 cities, like you want to either move to Chicago or New York, then you would put the things that matter to you on the side. So such as weather, such as how much you can make in each city, such as how much will each city cost, and such as transportation, etc. And you go down the list and then you score them, each one throughout the list, you score each one. And at the end, you'll have a final score and you'll see which one, based on actual points and analysis, will be the better decision. And this is so much better than just kind of winging it. Now, the next book that I read is called The Compounding Effect. And the biggest lesson I took from this book is actually nothing to do with the compounding effect, but it has to do with what he said in the book about responsibility. And probably because when he said it in the book, he said, if you could only take one thing away from this book, make sure it's this, and that is take responsibility for everything in your life, no matter what. Take responsibility because that puts you in control. If you're somebody who is constantly saying, I can't have this or that because of this person or that person, or because of this circumstance or that circumstance, you are giving control constantly. Every excuse you make, you're giving control to somebody else. So if you say you can't do something because your boyfriend, girlfriend, mom, dad, whatever, you're basically handing your control over to them. Whereas if you're somebody who says, you know what, I'm in this situation because of me, you're now putting yourself in the driver's seat and taking control of your life. Number 3 is The $1 Million Weekend. And this is an awesome book by Noah Kagan. And this book, the first thing that I got from this book stuck with me is to stop chasing yeses and start chasing nos. And so what that means is, like, let's say you're doing sales, right? Collect no's. Look at it as you're collecting no's, because it's not like when you make a sales call, you just get yes, 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 and yes. You have to go through a lot of no's, and that goes with everything in life. If you want to be successful, you got to go through failures, right? So if you switch your perspective and you look at it as collecting failures, and that leads to your success, that can help keep you motivated. Because when you get a failure or you get a no or you get a rejection, it can feel very bad. I've done like acting auditions before, and it feels horrible when you put on all this work and you don't get a call back and you basically get ghosted and ignored. But when I switch my perspective to, hey, you know what? Every single audition I do, there is some statistic out there that maybe I have to do 10 to get 1. Whatever it is, there's some statistic or some percentage out there, right? And so if I just look at this as I just got to collect a bunch of no's, eventually I'll get a yes. I switched my perspective to that and it actually worked. The more auditions I did, of course, the more jobs I actually got. And that goes with everything. So when you switch your mind to collect no's rather than yeses, it can change your life tremendously. Number 4, Anything You Want by Derek Sivers. Derek Sivers is a very interesting guy, and his book is very interesting too. But the biggest thing I got from that is that your business is your utopia. And what he means by that is, like, your business is your world that you get to create And this really stands out because he talked about in the book how so many like marketing experts tried to come to him to tell him what to do with his business when all he was concerned about was how to make the customer happy. How can we put a smile on their face? And he did all these little things like sending them quirky little letters and just doing all these different things, but it made his business a multi-million-dollar business that he ended up selling for like 20-some million dollars. Number 5, The Stories I Only Tell My Friends by Rob Lowe. One thing that stuck out to me about this book is how he talks about that success is not about talent, it's about resilience. And I've read several autobiographies by actors, and this is a common theme that I've noticed, is that they've all had this period of time where they wanted to quit, where they just felt like even after they had success and they were on the big screen and they were known, they had this dead period where it just felt like they were getting nothing, and they all talked about quitting acting. They all just talked about like quitting and doing something else because they weren't getting any jobs or they were getting offered stuff that they didn't want to do. But he talks about showing up even when it feels impossible, and eventually an opportunity will come. Number 6, Thinking Clearly. Now this book taught me that our default assumptions of things are often wrong. For example, we often jump to a conclusion to say like, I don't have time for this, but we very rarely stop to analyze, do I really not have time for this, or is it just not my priority? Number 7, The Art of Laziness. This book is amazing. You can find it on YouTube and listen to the audio version. It's not very long. Basically what this book summed up is just like the Nike logo, just do it. It basically says that like, you have just a huge amount of excuses between you and your goal, between you and what you want, of why you can't have it, of whether it's time, whether it's money or whatever. And The Art of Laziness, basically every word in that book is just basically saying, do it, do it, do it. Like, why are you waiting? Why are you being lazy? Why are you procrastinating? Just do it. Number 8, The Secret. I found this book in a thrift store, and just like the cover of it really caught my eye. And of course there's a secret, so I want to know what's the secret. And the secret, I will tell you what the secret is. Basically, that your thoughts create your reality. And it sounded kind of woo-woo at first, and it's kind of about the law of attraction, but when I started to really think about it, it actually makes a lot of sense. Because if you focus on the positives in your life will automatically seem more positive, even if it really didn't get positive. And this kind of goes to the old exercise of like, look around your room, count all the things that are red, and then come back and tell me how many things you saw that were blue. Probably none, because you were focused on the red. And so that's kind of the way that I took it. Like, even if you don't believe in the woo-woo side of the law of attraction, you have to at least believe in that where you focus your thoughts, your life will lead in that direction. Number 9, Think and Grow Rich. This is one of the most popular self-improvement books out there, and there is so much in here that it's hard to summarize this in, well, if I was going to summarize it, it'd be Think and Grow Rich, but it's not really Think and Grow Rich. Unlike this book, which is more about the mental side, Think and Grow Rich there's a lot of action plans in there that are talked about, and there are a lot of exercises too. But the biggest thing that I got from this book was to visualize your future, to visualize it. And one thing that it actually helped me do, this book as well talks about visualizing your future a lot, is to make a vision board and to constantly keep the future you want in your mind, and to be specific and to write it out and read it every single day and keep it there in your mind, because both of these books kind of talk about that your life will lead in the direction of your strongest thought. So that's the biggest thing that I got from this book, is to write it down, be as specific and precise as possible as what you want. Otherwise, how do you know where you want to go? Number 10, The Hidden Powers and Other Papers Upon Mental Science by Thomas Troward. Thomas Troward is an incredible author. This book is one of my favorite books ever. And basically also what he talks about in this book is the power of thought, the power of your thought. But what struck me the most about this book that I will never forget is that he talks about how much power is within every single person, but we don't realize it, in the form of potential. And he mentions this, he compares it to a candle flame. He said a little tiny candle flame looks small, but it can become an entire forest fire and wreak havoc. But the same exact potential that is inside of that huge forest fire is the same exact potential that is inside of a tiny little candle flame. And that thought just made me realize like how much potential is inside of every single one of us. It just needs the right environment to flourish. Number 11, Thinking Straight. One thing that I took from this book was when he said, conventional thinking will get you conventional results. Stop thinking binary of 0 and 1 or black and white. Take a step back to look at your life from a third person perspective, and that will help you make better decisions. And it makes a lot of sense if you think about, if you were inside of a maze, if you're in the maze, it's very, very hard to navigate and find your way outside of the maze because you're in it. But if you could have a drone above you and see where you're at in the maze. It's so much easier now to make decisions to get you out of there. And this can go for his life as well. If you kind of step back and look at yourself, well, if I was just controlling a video game character, or if I was giving advice to a friend, what would I tell them to do? And that can make things so much more clear, because when you're in it, you're feeling all the emotions, your head is muddled up, and it's very hard to make the right decision. And number 12, last but not least, one of my favorite books of all time, and one of Steve Jobs' favorite books, is Be Here Now. Now, the reason I picked this book up, because I heard it was one of Steve Jobs' favorite books. So I thought it was gonna be a business book about, how to get rich and like make you rich, because I was like, well, Steve Jobs, if it's his favorite book, it must be the reason why he was so successful and wealthy. If I pick it up, maybe I can be as successful and wealthy as him. The book has nothing to do with money at all, but it is the best book I've ever read. If you really delve into it and get into it and actually practice it, it will change your life. But basically, it's just being present. That's what it is. And it sounds so simple. It's like, oh yeah, just be present and be in the moment and live in the moment. But it's more than that. It's about completely letting go the thought of not even just the past or the future, but the next minute or the past minute. In fact, even the next second or the past second, just completely letting go of that and realizing that the only thing that truly exists is the moment of now. And that is my recap for the year. And so if you guys got any value from this, stick around and subscribe, because I will be doing the same thing for the year of 2025. I might even step it up to 2 books a month. I'm not sure, but right now I'm still going to be on path to doing 1 book a month. So if you got value from this, leave a like and subscribe, and comment what books that you guys recommend, because I would love to know. Thanks for watching.